that how they understand it?
Entirely, I understand your question.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what the effective mechanism is going to be. If a monitoring report shows that there are unanticipated effects from the mussels at the MPAs, they're evidently promising to implement adaptive management strategies, modifications, or operational changes. And so a report shows us that the worst fears of some of us are materialized, and then the executive director enters into a discussion with them about what to do about it. Is there a mechanism available, or might it be prudent for us to include a provision here that those sorts of discussions would come to the commission in a public hearing, that the public could have input on, and that the commission could see what's being negotiated to try to resolve the problem?
We could initiate the reopener.
And so that would be the way to do this too. Okay, and then this provision appears to apply specifically to Condition 1, only to Condition 1. And we have Condition 2, which has also been of concern in terms of the potential for marine and mammal entanglement. Would this be applied to the monitoring results that we're talking about, that we're looking for on Condition number 2, the entanglement condition as well?
Yeah.
So this commitment applies to any of the conditions. Okay, because it was just specifically referencing Condition 1. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Brennan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief because my questions have been answered, and certainly the fellow commissioners have asked some great questions and comments. I do want to just concur with Commissioner Bochco. I think certainly her passion for the marine protected areas and the questions she asked, I think, and her concerns are what this really commission as a whole shares. And I think the applicant agreeing to the monitoring for the whole program, I think, is really something that makes me much more comfortable. I only want to say that this is sustainability and locally grown foods, and know where our food's coming from, I think, is a huge movement, not just on land, but it's certainly going to be also, I think, looking at terms of our marine environment and our opportunity. And by the way, Cassidy, I want to say it's wonderful to have a aquamarine specialist, aquaculture specialist on staff, because I think, and somebody certainly that's, I'm going to just looking at you, maybe guess recent, not so recently out of school, but certainly up on the new things that are going on, and that, which is important because that's where all this is happening. I mean, Tasmania, Ireland, Baja California, all these countries and places have been doing aquaculture for a number of years, and not with the kind of scrutiny that a lot of us, certainly this commission, puts on applicants or projects. So knowing that this is going through with a lot of the conditions we've attached to it makes me feel much more comfortable. I do think, as we talked a little bit about desal, I don't know, are there better areas to do these kind of aquaculture projects? I don't know. I think nobody's taken it upon themselves to maybe actually do that. Maybe it's something the Ocean Protection Council could maybe give us some leadership on. But I do think it's wonderful to know that our seafood is coming locally. I think it makes people think a little bit differently about what they put down the storm drains and maybe flush down their driveways, knowing that if they eat shellfish, it might be coming from offshore. So we can make that relationship. But all that being said, it just shows that the ocean, given half a chance, can be vital and and can provide us with sustenance. And I'm just very careful. I want to be very careful how we go forward from this. But I think these are steps, and I think that this project is going to provide us with some good data that I think we can utilize and perhaps take advantage of. So, all that being said, I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly support the motion that's before us, and I think the modifications that have been made are significant improvements. It just kind of raises the whole question that I wanted to focus on, and would love to have some time, maybe a future meeting. The whole issue that was mentioned by staff of marine spatial planning. I mean, obviously we're dealing with trying to get LCPs approved in areas of deferred certification, and climate change, and sea level rise, but I think in the years ahead, I think the whole issue of marine spatial planning planning and how these different things such as desal plants and offshore activities that go on, including the aquaculture, all of those things just beg the fact that we've got to do a better job of planning not only what's right on the coastline, but also those areas that are under our jurisdiction going out into the ocean. The fact that we import over 80% of the seafood that we consume in this country should be a concern to all of us, and I think what is being proposed here is certainly very positive things that could change that. The farming practices and harvesting practices of seafoods in some of the areas that are importing their products to the United States are probably not regulated at all. And yet I think clearly what is being proposed here and what is included in this is something that will, with the conditions that have been put on by staff and additional ones brought up by my colleagues, I think will ensure that this will be a very safe operation. It's one that I think is appropriate off of our coastline, but I think it's one that we need to really focus on doing some better long-term planning, not just for aquaculture, but for all sorts of other activities that will probably be coming up off of our shorelines. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further comments by commissioners, we have a motion. Commissioner Bochco?
This is just a comment. I just want to applaud the attitude in this room of people who are working together to make it better. And sometimes we don't have that. Sometimes we have a lot of pushback. You know, nobody wants to do the monitoring, whatever. So I just want to actually say thank you for that.
There you go. Thank you. We have a motion and a second, and the makers of the motion are asking for a yes vote. Is there any unwillingness for a unanimous yes vote? Seeing none, we approve the project. Thank you. We look forward to the continuous monitoring. We will move on now to our next item on the agenda, and who will bring that forward?